All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Cinema Wave podcast. I'm one of your hosts for today, Mark Jacobino, joined by Sean Villa.
Hello, everybody.
And Mikey Pennison.
Hey, everyone.
And today we are talking about a critically acclaimed animated film titled Flow. This is a film that came out of Latvia, which is kind of surprising, and I'm really glad that it's getting a lot of exposure, both commercially and also critically. It won the Golden Globe and potentially could win the Oscar over Wild Robot. This was a really enjoyable film. I really liked the originality, the ambition of it. This film has no dialogue. It is completely told through the perspective of animals, and the animals don't have, animated facial features. They're very realistically animated, so there's a lot of legwork that has to be done in the way that they structure the scenes and the positions that they put the animals. And I was really engaged the whole time, even though there was no dialogue. How did you guys feel about this film overall? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is the most adorable horror movie that you could watch. If you're a cat lover like myself, or just a general animal lover. A lot of animals in distress in this movie, man, and I was getting stressed out every time that cat falls off the boat. Starts sweating. But ultimately, I agree with you. I think it makes for a fairly compelling story with no dialogue. I'm so drawn to characters typically in movies and cinema and everything and storytelling just in general, and to not really have like any speaking or any real characterization in like a human way and still have me engaged is a testament to how beautifully animated the movie is, how compelling these, like, I guess, quote unquote action scenes are,
right.
And and how good the score is too. I think it's a really pretty movie on a sonic level too. Really engaging. I came away from it thinking it was a lot deeper than I was expecting it to be. And I'll pass it to Mikey before we break down scene by scene, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely feel a similar way. I was really intrigued with this film. I didn't know anything about it, to be honest. I didn't even see like a trailer or anything like that before it. But it does animation in a way that I've definitely never seen it before. Especially the water scenes. I've never seen like water animated in this so specific sort of style, and the opening scene, especially, you kind of there's like they use reflection a lot, and it's just like the way they do things. It's not something that I've seen in a lot of this stereotypical, I guess you could say, animation. But the story, it was very, very heartfelt. I wasn't expecting a lot of what happened and what played out in the story. It definitely had me on the edge of my seat. I actually enjoyed having no dialogue in it. I think it just felt different, which was cool. I always enjoy different, and so that's all I have to say right now.
Yeah, no, I think you guys hit on two really good points, is like the tension and the horror aspect of it, the surprising horror aspect of it, and then also just the ambition of the animation, especially because I think this took 5 years to make on like a $5 million budget, and it just shows how much passion was put into this project. The water scenes, like you said, like the water is beautiful, giving Moana for a run for its money. All right, we had some technical difficulties, but I want to jump into your interpretations of this film, because something that was probably super surprising for you, Mikey, not having to know anything about the film, was coming in. There's no dialogue, and it's a super vague story. It's very much up to the audience to figure out what this all meant. There are some obvious themes that they string throughout, but there's also a lot of things that are left open. So kind of a spoiler warning here. We can't really talk about our interpretations without getting into spoilers about later parts of the film. So if you do check out the film, come back. If you haven't seen it yet, this is probably a good time to click away, but also we might talk about it and you still don't even know what the movie's about, and you could still enjoy it fully. So, Sean, what are your interpretations of this movie overall?
Yeah, so I probably have a slightly different interpretation than you guys do. As you can see, I'm rocking the Jesus piece here. I got some real Christian vibes from this movie. I got some real like Jesus-y stuff out of this. I think like the whole thing with the flood is very like kind of self-explanatory. Noah's Ark-ish. Noah's Ark-ish. That was a strange way to say that. I think the whole thing with the crane is very like Jesus-y, and like he kind of gets like raptured, like goes into the sky. There's like this strange sort of like connection between like nature and like companionship and like a very like world's ending event. Everything looks semi like all the architecture that we see that's like human is like vaguely like Roman or like sort of that like area of the globe like Greece and like all these like ancient things that I associate with like crusades and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that was actually the intention. I know nothing about like the guy that made this movie or like Latvian culture or anything like that.
Hmm.
I got a lot of like Catholic imagery out of this, and I think at the end it's saying a lot more like just broadly about like harmony. Like the way I kind of interpreted the ending of this movie with the whale is that the movie's sort of about how everything that happens can have like a positive effect on someone and a negative effect on someone else. And it was like this weird like yin and yang of nature. So it's like, all right, the flood happens and all of these poor animals are trapped on a boat, like the people that we're following. But had we followed this whale for the whole movie, what a great movie for that whale. You know, it's like
so
now,
much water.
yeah, now this whale gets to like explore this whole city and it gets to like go travel the world and like the flood is amazing for these fish and this whale or whatever. And then I kind of think like that's what I was supposed to take away from the cat looking at itself in the water at the end there, like all of the animals kind of like literally reflecting on what happened there. I think it's like a surprisingly deep movie for a kids movie. I think you can interpret it a number of ways. I happen to interpret it that way, but I think that there's like 100 valid ways you could take away from this.
Yeah,
which just shows like some like pretty mature storytelling to do that. So
big time.
Yeah, definitely.
Mikey, hit us with it.
Yeah, I first and foremost, I love that you brought up the religious connotation to it. Seeing it as like a Noah's Ark sort of like connection. I love that, and the whole flood. I think it works perfect. I didn't see it like that at first, but I really like that a lot. I kind of just really got like a big sort of cause and effect, but kind of in like a good karma, bad karma sort of way. Just because I feel like in some way or another, every animal that we saw help out this cat in some way or hurt this cat, you either saw the effect of a good ending or a bad ending, and in some way or another, it's also like a circle or a cycle of some sorts, I guess you could say, where like the whale, for example, because we brought up the whale helped them, and then at some point the cat was able to then like kind of like show a bit of love and sincerity in the end, little things like that. Or I'm trying to think of little specific moments that happened in the film where it was
the dogs want to get on the boat, but then they abandon them later.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a lot of selfish characters in the story, but there's also a lot of selfless characters in the story.
100%. Even just like the crane itself, like the whole act of like multiple moments where it stood up for the cat against the other flock, and then what's it called, even like giving it the fish, which was a very heartfelt moment. Little things like that, and then for the cat to be able to like return the favor on the boat and little things, I got a karma sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, no, I like those. I definitely got both of those. The biggest thing for me was that like selfishness versus selflessness. In the beginning of the story, the cat is very selfish in the way that it lives. He has a nice house to himself. He's surrounded by cat imagery that kind of like praises him as like a god to a degree. And water as a symbolism piece is always about change, and all the characters go through a change. The lemur is obsessed with all of these material things, and he's like hoarding them, and then when he loses them he gets mad and he's like, no, I want my things back. And at the end of the story, he has the mirror, he's looking at himself, he's showing everyone like, look how cool this thing is, and then he looks at himself and he's like, I need to go help my friends who helped me.
And there's a big crack in the mirror too.
Right. Yeah. So I like the idea of change and selfishness kind of being shed from a lot of our main characters. The capybara is the most selfless. He like helps the cat right away. The whale helps the cat, literally saves him from drowning in like one of the first scenes. And then I think the other really interesting thing is the two like mythical creatures, the crane / like phoenix looking things, and then the whale, both of which are not normal animals. And I think they're like the best insight into what the movie, the broader idea of what the movie is through their lens. So I kind of thought of it like yeah, a little bit like biblical with like the phoenixes like going on this pilgrimage to this point where they're going to be, ascending into the heavens. And we don't know if the whale was also going on that pilgrimage to go to that same point. There was that like area of mounds kind of, and I don't know if the whale was also going there to be, sent to heaven or not. It also shows like it's kind of a harsh reality. Like the whale was selfish, selfless the whole time, and in the end, he kind of almost dies alone, which is kind of like bleak. Whereas the other like phoenixes, like they are all selfish except the one, and even the one at the end kind of is a little selfish. He kind of abandons them to go to the spire, and it's a very interesting idea of like you don't always get a good ending, even if you're a good person, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to tie it back to, I mean, my like Christian imagery thing, I kind of interpreted the crane there to be a character that like really just like the only thing that we see him do is kind of like give to the other characters, and it seems like he's like a little more like stout about it than I would imagine like a Christ-like figure would be. A very like like nope, I'm guiding the boat, like go away. Like, he's very like proper, like kind of studious looking. But I kind of interpret it as like, oh, okay, like he's, he gets his wing broken for the cat. He like guides the boat for everybody else. The only thing that like kind of messes up my theory is the thing with the dogs, where he's not like immediately going to save the dogs. He has to kind of be convinced by the rest of the crew. But I interpreted like that like rapturing of him as kind of like a like dying for our sins moment from the crane, because almost immediately after that the water sinks back down. So it seems almost like a sacrifice that he makes. Like, but I have no idea if there's any relation to that at all. Like, it kind of just seems like the earth just like opens up, swallows all the water, and we're back to normal, as if it's like a cycle, like you were saying, Mikey. And I don't know like quite how to interpret it. I don't think it's meant to be taken like super like literally, that there's like clues about like tectonic plates or some shit.
Of course.
But I think that's sort of how I took away from it. But again, I think that speaks to like how cool this movie is on a storytelling level, where like, yeah, maybe. Or it could be something completely different, and like I wouldn't tell you you're wrong. So it speaks to just like a maturity that they have in the storytelling of this movie and what they're capable of doing just visually. Yeah, and I think it's just really impressive. So
absolutely,
yeah. I am. I agree. I feel like there's only so much you could really do. I feel like in these sort of and then what we're dealing with, right. And so I don't really have too much else to say. I'm gonna be honest, I don't.
No, I love that this film exists. I love that animated movies can be this. I know we started kind of talking about animation on the Cinema Wave channel broadly, just to bring attention to it as an artistic medium and not just a medium for children, because I think a lot of people look at animation and they say, oh, that's a kid's movie just because it's animation. But then movies like this come out and it's like, I would say adults probably get more out of this movie than kids, and I think it's told with a level of maturity that would probably be more suited for adults. But I also think like kids or people coming of age can see this movie and be like, I get a lot out of this as well. And so this is a movie that like I would show to people that maybe have that preconceived notion about animation, to see it as like an art form. And I appreciate when movies come along like that, or TV shows, because there's plenty of other TV shows like that. So yeah, I'm very happy this movie exists.
Do we want to get to just like a final rating on this, or kind of wrap it up, or do you guys have anything else you want to say about it?
I mean, like really quick, I can just again touch on kind of what you were saying. We are kind of coming off still of like a renaissance of animation. I feel like, I know in the past we talked like we always said that I think Spider-Verse was like one of those films that kind of really sparked this renaissance. And so I wanted to that test of what you were saying. It is cool to still see these films taking ambitions like this and not following your sort of contemporary sort of style of it. And so I just wanted to leave it at that.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think like a lot of animation that's coming out now that's considered like adult animation either has to swear or have blood in it. Yeah. And this movie doesn't have either of those things. It's about like a cute animal. And I agree with you, Mark. I think this does kind of lean towards like a more like adult viewership of someone who's just kind of like appreciating the medium. So yeah, I think that is like pretty remarkable to do. And, I think it's nice that it's being nominated for an Oscar. It's getting some attention.
Yeah.
All around good stuff.
Yeah,
definitely.
it's my pick. I love Wild Robot. Wild Robot's great. But it is my pick for the Oscar at this point. Just from ambition and just in the medium that it's occupying. I really like it. So score wise for me, I'll probably put this at like an 8 or an 8.5. I really enjoyed it. Ambiguous storytelling isn't my favorite, so I don't know how often I'd like revisit this, but if I were to revisit it, I feel like I would get something out of it. So yeah, I think 8.5 is kind of my score.
Yeah. I'm pretty much like in the exact same boat. Nope. Boats.
Oh, get in the boat. Come on, get in the boat.
Yeah. I think I'm probably thinking about an 8. I appreciate this, and I think that's the same score that I would give Wild Robot. I didn't cover it here, but I think that's about what I give that. And I appreciate them for different reasons.
Yeah.
But I think that they're pretty like similar in terms of quality. It's just you go to them for different things. And I think this is like a really well done movie. Has a heart. I think it's cool in the space that it's in, that it's doing what it's doing, and I appreciate it more than I would say that I'm like eager to rewatch it. You know, it's like one of those things where I'm like, wow, this felt like important for what it is, but I'm not like dying to see it again, you know?
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I feel like again it's just cool to see these creative strides happen in animation, especially for me. I feel like seeing a lot of the quality in this sort of style of animation is what really sold me, I guess you could say, on this film, but also just the relationship between these animals. I'm a big guy as far as like the found family sort of trope, and so to kind of see it in the midst of like a random group of animals is really cool, I guess. I enjoyed this film more than I thought I did. Again, I didn't really know anything about it, but I'm still happy I watched it. I agree to your statement as far as I don't know when I'd watch it again, but I appreciated that I did watch it and what we got to get. And so I think I would leave it at it was higher than I'll admit. It dropped since in this conversation. I think I'm going to do an 8.5.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're all kind of in agreement. Hope you guys enjoyed this review.
Sorry, more technical difficulties. Mark's camera just died, but I hope you enjoyed our review of Flow. We've been Culture Wave Media. We have a YouTube channel. We have an Instagram. We have like every social media. Go and check it out. We're covering so much. We have reels coming out. We have long form reviews. We have podcasts about every little thing that you can imagine. We're covering Invincible. We are covering Severance. And comment below if you want us to cover something else. If we're not covering something, let us know. What do you want covered? With that said, I've been Sean. I'm going to pass it off to my two compatriots here.
Mike Fantasy.
Without a camera, I'm Mark Jacobino.
This is The Culture.